guys, Calmir here once again, and so today we're going to go ahead and finish up our Minecart Station. We are going to work on getting the tracks set up for our 4 destinations, and then we're going to connect that to our Destination Selector so that whichever one we select is going to be the track that our cart actually leaves out on. So this is going to be a couple different steps here. The first step is we're going to work on getting all the tracks lined up so that no matter which track you're coming in from, you always arrive at our arrival point. Then we're also going to set it up so that as we're leaving, we're going to run over a detector rail, and by running over the detector rail, it's going to switch everything to outgoing instead of incoming. And you'll see what that means in a little bit. And then lastly, we're going to set it so that our destination selector, whichever destination is picked, it's going to point to one of our turning tracks and switch it so that as we're leaving, instead of automatically going to the last track, we'll switch over to whichever track was selected. So that's going to be the steps that we're going to take in order to build this. And so let me go ahead and pause the video here, and I will be right back. Okay guys, so from here we are going to go ahead and connect everything to our arrivals destination for the first step. So I'm actually just going to wrap the track around like that and then put one coming out like that so it bends the corner. And then I'm going to have my departures go ahead and connect to that. So as you're leaving on your departures, it's just going to hop over this corner and it's going to continue straight. But as we have carts coming in for our arrival, it's going to turn the corner and go towards that part. For the next part, you are basically going to want to make it turn. You can make this as compact as you want. You can actually have it turn there. It's a little too sharp of a corner for me. So for me, I'm actually going to have it turn there. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to have a detector rail put on this. If you want, the detector rail can be between the corners, but if you do that, I would suggest at least 3 spaces between this rail and that rail. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, whoops. 1, 2, 3, and then you would actually have your rail turn here. The reason for that is because if you have a detector rail here, it's going to turn these 2 corner pieces even if you don't want them to. Because when you run over it, it's going to send power to the adjacent tracks. So if you're going to put the detector rail between these corners, make sure you at least have 3 tracks in between them. If you're going to put it over here, then like I said, you can make it as compact as you want. Okay, and so in making this, we're going to do exactly like this. We're going to put our straight track down, and then we're going to make our turn. After we're only going to come one out from our turn, and then we're going to put the tracks for our departures for our different destinations. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if I come back to my main line and start connecting the rest of the tracks, they should all adjust properly. Okay, so the idea here is that we want all of our tracks to lead back into our arrivals. So as you can see, this one turns and goes straight. This one would also turn and go straight. This one would turn and go straight. And then this one would actually just go straight over this corner. And so no matter which line you came in from, they would all lead to our arrive point. Now, this is set up correctly, but if yours did not come out correctly, don't worry about it too much, because we are going to actually put torches underneath these so that we can flip them back and forth based off of our destination selector. So I'm going to go ahead and dig down. Now this first one does not need a torch because it doesn't switch. It's just going to remain a regular bend at all times, but we do need torches under the other ones. So I'm going to dig down here. And we're going to put a torch under each one of those tracks. So there's one here. Skip a space, one here. Skip a space, one here. Now, if you're ever unsure which way a track is going to face, you can always put down a torch and then remove it. So that powered on the torch and then turn the power back off, and then you can check it again. So I want mine in the off-powered state, because if you look at this one, which still has a torch underneath it, the on-powered is turned the wrong way. This one is also turned the wrong way. So I know that all 3 of these need to be powered off, but I have to have the torches here so that, again, we can flip them around whenever our destination selector is in use. So to make sure that we still have the torches there, but to also make sure that they are all turned off, we can simply connect all of them with redstone dust. Oops, like this. And then just put a temporary torch above it. So this line is now turning off all of our torches. Again, depending on which direction your station is facing, tracks follow the northwest rule. So sometimes they'll bend the way you don't want them to. For example, let's say that you need this one on and this one on, or I'm sorry, this one off, but you need this one on. You can simply just make yourself a quick inverter and connect the inverter to the rest of the line. Okay, so now these two are off, that one remains on, and then you can go upstairs and check it to see if that's working. But I already know that all of mine need to be off. So there we go. So once you have your torches down and you have your dust connecting all three torches, at that point, again, making sure that they are all facing in towards our arrival point. From there, we're going to go ahead and install our detector rail. So I will be right back with that. Okay guys, so now we're going to work on step 2. We're going to install a detector rail. Now the point of the detector rail is to flip our tracks. Right now they're inbound. Everything comes in and heads towards our arrival point. So everything is currently heading inbound towards our station. We want everything to flip so that it's facing outbound. Now this one doesn't need to flip because it's already turning the corner, but this one needs to flip so that it goes straight. This one needs to flip so it goes straight, and the objective is to head towards your last destination. So to do this, again, you can put your detector rail in between these corners if you have more than 3 spaces between these 2 track lines. But I'm going to put mine over along this wall so it's a little bit more compact. And to do this, I don't want the track next to a curve because, again, it's going to end up flipping that even if I don't want it to be flipped. So instead I'm going to come at least 1 away, and I'm going to dig 2 down and put some dust down there so that it's already marked where I want my track to end up. And grab some dirt, put the dirt on top of the dust, and put my detector rail like that. So when I run over this, it's going to activate that dust that's down there. So let me head back down here, and we'll go ahead and clear ourselves a little space here. Okay, so there's our dust. Now I'm going to remove the temporary torch. However, I still need all of these to be off on a regular basis, so I'm going to use the torch there. Now, if you had all your dust set up and it all needs to be off, you can simply connect it like that, and so they would all the dust would be off and the torches would remain on. So again, you're going to have to just kind of work with that to make sure that your tracks are facing the right direction. So when I head up here, they're currently facing the right direction because I have the torch powering the line. So let me grab a cart and actually place the cart on the detector rail. Okay, so now as you can see, it switched all of my tracks. So this one's not facing the right way anymore. If I were to come off this line, it would go over this corner and continue straight, and I need that to face the other way. However, the rest of these are correct. If I was to go this, it would jump over that corner and go straight. This one would go straight, and then it takes me to my last track. So again, our goal with when the cart's on the detector rail, I want it to face towards this last destination. So this torch needs to be off still while these ones are on. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out a little room behind these torches, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back, and I've gone ahead and dug out this little area back here behind my torches, and I lit everything else up because I realized it was getting kind of dark down here. Now currently I have a rail cart on top of the detector rail, so it's charging this dust, so it's turning off my inverter there. And so right now everything should be leading to this last track. which these two are, but this one is facing the wrong way because my track would hop over and go straight. So I need to switch that. So these two need to stay on, and that one needs to stay off for when it's going outbound. So what I'm going to do is simply build an inverter over here, put the dust on it like that. And again, right now there is a minecart on top of the rail, so I can make sure that I have this right. So right now everything should be facing outbound. So let's go check that. So whenever I'm leaving, it's going to run over the detector rail and it's going to make everything face the last line. So this is going to turn, it's going to go straight, it's going to go straight, and to the last line. So I now have this set up correctly. And from here, we're going to wire our destination selector to these destination torches. So this torch, we're not going to go to this torch because it needs to be inverted. So instead, we're going to go to this torch. So there's our 1, 2, 3 destinations, and then the fourth one is the one that does not have a torch underneath it. Now, before I get into wiring, I want to go ahead and I'm going to switch over to my test world and show you guys ways to work with the wiring, and then I'll come back to this world and actually wire this together. So I will be right back. Okay guys, I went ahead and connected these two. Again, the only thing that you need is the reset line to make sure that it resets all of them. So right now that one is selected. If I select this one over here, it's going to change. So now all of those are down and this one's selected. But the reason I have these two side by side is so that I can show you how to do the wiring behind them. If you're using the redstone the redstone destination selector, what I would do is every other line I would go ahead and dig a trench like this, and what you can do is put the redstone dust underneath the torch and have it go out like that in all the trenches, and then simply cover them up like that. And then these torches that are still above, I would have the dust come out like that. So you can have these 4 or however many you have just run continuous next to each other until they need to break off, and then you can separate them when you need to. So that gives you basically the pattern of above the block, below the block, above the block, below the block, and it would just continue. And it comes out the same way over here, but you actually have to kind of lead it down. So anywhere that there's dust, you would just go down the steps like that. And again, I would actually go into a trench like this. And, whoops. Like that. And then the ones above, I would go ahead and put a block in front of the repeater and then have it step down from there. Whoops. Like that. And again, you're going to want to cover this dust so that they don't cross, but then you can just run the dust from the top down like that. And so again, you end up with the pattern below the block, above the block, below the block, above the block, and continue in that method. Alright, so that's how you would connect the wires going out towards your tracks wherever they are. Now, when connecting your buttons to your destination tracks, something that I would keep in mind is it doesn't matter which button is connected to which destination as long as there's only one connected to the other. For some reason, I see a lot of people always try and keep it visual, so the leftmost button would go to the leftmost destination. But this is actually very complicated when it comes to wiring. Because if you have this going out like that, okay, well now destination number 2 has to actually have it go over like that and on that way, and then destination, or I'm sorry, button, not destination, buttons number 3 would have to go over 2 tracks, and then the last, it gets very complicated to do it this method. So again, I understand that, visually it looks, it makes more sense because you're thinking left button should lead to the leftmost destination, but wiring, it's a lot more complicated than that. So instead, what I would do is, the easiest probably method to wire is just to go from the closest 2
So from that button to that destination, and then from there, just kind of keep working outward like that. And then number 2 would come over here to C, and then the first button would come all the way over here to D. Now this is probably the easiest to visualize while you're wiring, because you're just simply going from one to the other. And this especially works well if your tracks are kind of far away from your destination selector. However, um, this method is a lot better than the previous method that I showed you. However, it's not always the best. Sometimes you have to take into consideration how close your tracks are to your destination selector. And for this, I'm actually going to use this model here because it will actually prove very interesting. Alright, so I have this first line coming down and comes out there. Okay, however, I can see a line right there, so I can actually come out there as well, rather than have it go under here. Okay, this line, go ahead and fill in this hole, and this line right here can come out one more, go like that. And so that just leaves this line over here. Well, rather than have it come underneath like that, I can actually have it wrap around behind here, and because it's next to and not on a block above this piston, it's not going to activate it. So I can have it run under, and like that. Okay, so now I have my if my 4 tracks were right here, I would have my blocks like this with the redstone torches above them. Okay, so this method would be easier in this situation than doing that method. But it's in no particular order. It's actually completely out of order. So let's take a look. If I hit button number 1, okay, it turned off A, B, C. So this is actually C. Button number 2 is B. And 3 is D, all the way at the end. So that leaves this is A, which is the first one. Okay, and this is what I mean when I say that your buttons, it doesn't matter which button goes to which destination as long as each one only goes to one. So I would always label your buttons after you do your wiring to your tracks, and then just put the destination as to however you got it. So do your wiring first, make that as easy as possible, and then do your labeling last. So that is my suggestions for the wiring. I would stick with this whenever possible, but it doesn't mean it's always the best solution. Sometimes it may be a little bit easier to mix them up a little bit. Just do whatever you can to get your lines from your destination selector to the proper track. So let me go back into my world and we will work on my tracks. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back in my Let's Play world, and we're ready to start wiring in just a minute. First thing, keep in mind, make sure your cart is sitting on the detector rail. We want to make sure right now we're working with the outgoing tracks, so they all should be facing the outward direction towards the last destination. Secondly, you may have noticed we have 4 buttons, but down here we only have 3 torches. 1, 2, 3 torches that we're going to connect to. The reason for that is because the 4th button is actually just going to be a reset button. So if 1, 2, and 3 are 3 different destinations, then hitting number 4 is going to make sure that all 3 of those are turned off. And when everything is turned off, it's going to go down the default, which is the 4th destination. So that's why we have 4 buttons. Last one's just a reset. Now also in wiring this, please keep in mind each world's going to be a little bit different depending on the direction that your tracks are facing. They do have a northwest rule. What that means is 2 directions the tracks will always be bent one way when powered, but in the other directions the tracks will face the opposite direction when powered. So it's just something that depends on the direction you're facing. So you'll have to work with that on your own. In fact, all the wiring from this point will probably be mostly up to your preference on what you find easiest. But the main goal is just to have one line lead to one track, or one torch under the track. And again, the easiest way to visualize would probably just have this one go down, over, and then to the first track. And then your second one would go down, over, and to your second track, or well, third track. Um, but I'm going to go with the other method that I mentioned, which is whichever is more convenient. And since I know one of these will not have power, I'm going to go ahead and remove them all, so that'll give me a little bit of room to maneuver around up here. And I'm going to start on this corner and work my way in a spiral like that. And let's see here. Okay, so I want this to go to that torch right there. So turning around, coming back over here, it's going to be there. So this is in line with the torch that's on the other side. I just need to dig down. Okay, and so here's my ground level. This dirt's my ground level, so I'm just going to stay under the dirt like this and dig all the way. Should connect straight to that torch. Oh, and there it is. I broke it. So now I can run redstone dust all the way across and up. So there we go. We have our first torch connected that easily. Clear out some room here. Relight that. Alright, so let's go work on our second line. Now if I try and put one here, it's going to mix with that line. If I try and put one here, it's still going to mix with that line, because when I try and turn that way, I could turn that way. I'm actually going to go ahead and keep them separated as far as apart, so we'll go there. Let me turn this off. There we go. Alright, so we're working with this one now. And go down, spiral again. Okay, and dig there, go down. Oh, okay, so we're connecting there, but I want to go that way. So let's dig this area out and see what we have. Okay, so it's just connecting up that one bump. I can easily just put a block there to disconnect it and run this across to that wire. Okay, so one more to go. Go ahead and hop back up here. Oh, I can't hop up there, so I'll hop up over here. Alright, so one more to go. So I have two spots left, here and here. This one's over dust, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one over here. And I'm going to go ahead and just go straight through a block like that. And I'm kind of tight on space here, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and dig straight into the mountain, like that. And we're going to dig this down to our little room underneath. Making sure to connect the dust all the way down. And connect this. And if I actually move this inverter back one, like that, we can connect that straight across. Okay, that should do it. We should have all of them connected now. From here, you also want to work on making sure you have enough power to actually get to wherever you're going. So I'm going to break this off of that, and I will put a power track right here. And for now, I'm just going to put a torch over it since we're just testing. So as we leave, this should take us to our different destinations. Also, let's see. One of these buttons does not lead anywhere. So it's this button that doesn't lead anywhere. So what I can do is go ahead and recollect all these resources. You want to leave that dust there because that's what's connecting all of the repeaters. You also want to leave your reset line, which is underground, so that's not a problem. Alright, that should do it. So let's go ahead and give this a test. I'll just speed through this. So here I go. Okay, guys. If you caught that, it would show that each one of the buttons leads to a different track. None of them went to the same track twice. So we are done. From here, you would just you're gonna have to dig yourself your tunnels to whichever destination you're going. So that's the hard part. Um, Other than that, everything else is going to be aesthetics. Just decide how you want this to look. Like, for example, I don't like grass, so this will probably all be stone, so animals can't spawn in there. I'm going to build an actual building around all three of these sections and make an actual station out of it. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the videos, and if you did, please give my video a thumbs up and subscribe. In the meantime, I